Now I have unmute myself.
Yes, sir. I
Let
can
me.
see you. You can be on mute, not a problem.
Okay.
Welcome to the journey of Vishwa Foundation, an organization dedicated to bringing positive change to society every single day. In just 1,176 days since its inception in May 2021, Vishwa Foundation has grown into a beacon of hope and change. Vishwa Talks is an online platform inspiring people to participate in social change by hosting experts who share insights on diverse topics every Saturday.
Namaste. Vishwa is an organization which works towards building the grassroots levels of India. The first step we take towards that is to build an awareness. We work in different causes from education, health, art and culture to 12 other causes. On every Saturday at 11 a.m., we have a talk on these various topics. For example, when it comes to health, India has a rich source of Ayurvedic treatments, alternative medicines like Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, naturopathy. At a time when India is leading in diabetes, heart attacks, cancer, we have preventive medication which can be used. So a lot of talks have come out where people can use household items to prevent some of these or to control some of them. Our grandmothers were a rich source of information. Our parents knew a little lesser than that. And we know a lot lesser than that. And perhaps our children may never get that heritage. Here at Vishwa, we have people who tell us how to use the household items like curry leaves or neem or lemongrass, for what ailments, etc. Similarly, we have talks on art and culture. We would like to have our Indians to be united, be one, be proud of their culture, their heritage. We have a lot of talks where people from various walks of life have come forward and spoken about various buildings, various dance forms, etc. These are two examples I have given. We cover 12 causes like this in our Vishwa Talks. As a first step, we want to bring in awareness among the coming generation. Our audience is across the country and sometimes abroad too. We have a rich interactive session after the talk is given by the expert. It's for any person who watches these talks to decide what they want to believe in, what they don't want to believe in, and if they have any clarifications, they're free to ask questions. After this, we want to build the skills of the people of India. Today, India is on the cusp of moving into one of the top countries of the world. But unfortunately, the skills of our people do not match our aspirations. Here at Vishwa, we started out in a small way. We started with computer training. Fortunately for us, Rotary and some people have donated computers to us. We teach 10th class students, inter students and degree students so that when they go for jobs, they don't get rejected. We teach the basics like Excel, Doc, ChatGPT, how to market. The basics we teach. because most of them cannot afford computers and they have no access to them. And similarly, we have something called celebrations. Celebrations is celebrating your loved ones on their anniversaries, on their birthdays, on their death anniversaries. You could contribute to any of the causes that Vishwa showcases on its platform vishwa.org. You could, Annadanam for instance. There are a lot of people across the country who, when they go to hospitals, they come up from far off regions and they little money they have, they keep it aside for the treatment of the patient. They sleep on platforms, they hardly eat anything. And we give them food every afternoon on Fridays, and it makes a lot of difference. There are similar such fundraisers. Please feel free to celebrate your loved ones with any of these causes.
Vishwa's commitment towards zero waste and the long way to go in achieving the goal begins with our material donation drive. Conducted twice a year during Diwali and Ugadi in Hyderabad, this drive collects clothes, books, toys, and other used or semi-used items for the underprivileged. Contributions from over 615 plus families have benefited around 2,800 individuals, providing essential items and support, bringing hope and dignity to them. Through these efforts, we transform the waste of some into the treasure of others, promoting sustainability and community welfare.
Namaskaram. A very good morning and welcome to Vishwa Talks. My name is Trishant and I thank you all for attending today's event on Zoom and to those watching on YouTube Live. For those of you who have attended a Vishwa Talk before, a warm welcome back. And for our new joinees, here's a little bit about us. Vishwa Talks is here to create awareness amongst people and to protect our social heritage and to let people make their own decisions. Here we invite experts to discuss and explore diverse opinions, different perspectives, various issues, problems, and their solutions on various fields, including art and culture, healthcare, environment, education, and many more. So far, we have covered over 150 talks. Each webinar is an interactive session with a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss any part of the session or would like to go through the previous sessions, please visit our website or Vishwa Talks YouTube channel for a full library of past Vishwa Talks on various interesting topics. It's an absolute honor to welcome our esteemed speaker for today's webinar, Dr. Jitendra Gavli, a distinguished scientist, educator, and a passionate environmentalist. Dr. Gavli currently serves as the director at the Regional Community Science Center, where he plays a pivotal role in promoting science awareness and education. With decades of experience in plant research, biodiversity conservation, and environmental protection, his contributions have significantly shaped ecological studies and sustainable practices in Gujarat and beyond. From working on air pollution impact studies and rare plant conservation, to mentoring young minds through initiatives like National Children's Science Congress, Dr. Gavli's journey is truly inspiring. His dedication has also earned him global recognition, including his selection for the prestigious International Visitor Leadership Program, IVLP, by the US Department of State. Beyond research and conservation, he is also a published author, an advocate for river restoration, and an advisor for afforestation initiatives. With such a rich background, we are privileged to have him with us today to share his insights. Dr. Gavli, we warmly welcome you and look forward to learning from your expertise. As we dive into today's interesting discussion, I would like to inform the audience that our speaker will be taking questions from you after the main talk. So please leave your questions in the chat box or use raise hand tool and we will allow you to ask your questions in person. I request everyone to turn on your webcam for the interactive part of the webinar. I also request you to keep the questions concise and short. Please limit the interaction part to questions, and you can share your experiences, opinions, and perspectives in the chat box. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Jitendra Gavli as he shares his inspiring journey and valuable insights onto importance of native vegetation with emphasis on trees. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Thank you, Trishan. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vishwa Talks. I am here to talk about the importance of native vegetation with emphasis on trees, the vital role of native trees and vegetation that often been neglected and overlooked. And this happens especially when you know, when we tend to design our own gardens, when we tend to design our own habitat, that is the urban area. As we know, our small villages have turned into the towns and towns to the cities, and now cities are becoming metros. But through this journey, with the increase in population, we are also putting a lot of pressure on our natural resources. When I talk about natural resources, the majority of us do believe in the water, availability of water, fresh water, soil to some extent, but they never realize that vegetation or biodiversity is also very essential part to run our ecosystem, to run our ecosystem healthy. And those are being the weakest areas wherein we don't address. Our sciences is all about to bring out the comfort in our day-to-day life. But while doing that, we are putting a lot of studies and technology advancement, but we are also putting parallelly a lot of pressure on our resources, availability of minerals, and then degrade the soil, degrade the forest, cut out the hills, and then in the want of minerals, we often see that those natural terrain, those hilly terrains, are being flattened. And there are several such studies those talk about a great menace that we have done to many such natural areas. And that run is still continuing. It is not that we have somehow restricted ourselves by defining the protected areas, by describing and marking our wildlife sanctuaries. We don't, in fact, there are several incidences wherein we are denotifying them. We have started denotifying in the name of population increment or increase in the population and uh, our demand for the natural resources and natural areas. See, forests we cut, and then we have the agriculture that we know, to which we call our civilization. And that has occurred all along the rivers and wherever water sources are there. So natural areas, those were there, have been degraded. And then we have turned into the agriculture. I would like to bring you to the notice that native plants that we have, they have the relationship with that of soil, local hydrology, and on long run, even climate. So climate in return, or rather with the geological sciences, formed rock into the soil and then the hydrology. So both these very important factors as soil and hydrology plays very vital role for the evolution of the plant. Adaptation to the plant is another aspect wherein their genetics plays a vital role, but they also evolved, and that evolution is along with the change in the soil characteristic or the hydrology, local hydrology, or availability of the water. And while doing so, they also have to have the pollinators. So there comes the animal. So small insect, those are evolved with the plant, and this evolution takes place in several thousands of years to even lakhs of years. So wherever you find a typical sort of soil and a certain hydrological cycle, you can very well predict what would be the plant diversity, what would be the animal diversity that is dependent on the plant diversity. So this interaction, we must understand, we must respect this whenever those areas we are trying to capture in the name of our urbanization or the urban expanses. Several other points, those are related with the soil and hydrology are,
Sir, are you sharing a PPT by any chance?
yes.
I
Uh,
don't think it's visible. I'll just prompt Rakesh to share it
okay,
on screen.
Rakesh, please share the slide.
You can prompt him to change the slides whenever
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want. Thank you.
First slide. Rakesh, please. After that, the another one. So I'm just continuing with my talk that I was talking about the soil hydrology and climate and how it is related with the evolution of the plant and animal. And then there comes ground vegetation, which often we in urban area often neglect that. We never care about what the soil is there and what type of plants are growing. So we always plant the plants those we like or we design. And we just ignore those plants by calling it jungly. कि ये तो ऐसे ही जंगल है. So we need to care about whatever is growing naturally in certain areas because they have certain role to play in that ecosystem. And this ground vegetation in exchange with the soil nutrient increases the soil root zone. And this is very important for every sort of soil's fertility, porosity, and the water holding capacity. Moment we remove this ground vegetation and put some monoculture over there, naturally we are changing this soil root zone area. We are changing the mineral intake and exchange with the root and the or rather living system and the non-living, that is soil. So root and soil, we are changing their exchange by changing the vegetation. And this is all in the wild happening naturally with the climatic factors to which we call it succession. So certain soils you will find with the known amount of rainfall, annual rainfall, you will have grasses, a typical grasses or few grass families will be very dominant in that area. And with the change in the climatic factors, with the change in rainfall pattern, there will be serial stage that will take place. So we in ecology call it primary succession, and then comes the secondary succession, then comes tertiary succession, and all these succession or serial stages will have difference in soil moisture, holding capacity, porosity of the soil, and of course the ground vegetational change. Species will vary, and ultimately, with this successional rate changes, ultimately it tries to evolve a good forest system, which will be dominated by trees. And wherever trees are there, they bring this, stability to the serial stage. The succession it is not that they will be completely stopped or checked, but for the changes those are occurring in say decades will be restricted to several hundreds of years with the trees. Trees diversity, if you have more diversity, more are the chances in the forest to stabilize the system. And that is how the maximum biodiversity area in the world will be having maximum diversity of the tree species and then other dependent life forms in the forest. And those systems will be more resilient. So under any such stress, like if suppose there are no rainfall for 1 or 2 years consequently, there will be death in that system, but it will be not that severe as that of in the grassland. So if you have forest and grassland, you can compare this study. If there is stress, a similar kind of climatic alterations are occurring on both the system, the forest will be less sufferer. Our connect with the plant is mainly due to their uses of the health. And as we know, we are all Ayurveda applying people. And since ancient times, thousands of years ago, we have connected ourselves with that of Ayurvedic plants. Now I'm going to show you. I will ask Rakesh to, just one after another, he can swipe this slides because those are all talking about the importance of the plants and herbaceous plants. Those are along with us. I know most of the central Indian people or those who are, you know, or this participants of this seminar, they will they would have seen these plants. 40 to 50% plants are seen by them, but they don't have the name or they don't have the utility of that plant. Now, this is very a kind of selfish uh, lookout of these plants. Rakesh, may I say you next, please? So these are the plants, as you can see. Most of them you have seen. Next, please. I'm not going to read the utility. I wanted to show how many such plants, those are never been planted or care in our gardens, but they are growing in our grasses, all along the grasses on the ground or our ruderal vegetation, we can call. Next, please. Chitrak, as we know. Next, please. In the moist areas, in the grasses and semi-partial shaded areas, you will come across several such plants. And then plant like this, calotropis, they grow in the very open and disturbed landscape. So they are a kind of primary successors. Please, next. Next, please. Yeah, next.
You're going too fast, please. Can you all repeat those slides?
Okay. I just want viewers to see that so many number of plants with such a beautiful utility we have. And I will also request that don't read all the things those have been written. It is all available on the internet if you search with the name. But this is for the awareness that so many plants are already known to us, and
Rakesh,
we
can you
often we
repeat
often
the
consider
slides?
them wild plants.
Rakesh, can you repeat the slides, please?
Okay, ma'am.
Most of these plants are herbs. Some of them are, uh, you know, they live for 1 or 2 more years, so they are, perennial, we can call. But most of them are available in our vicinity, near our, urban areas. Even in within urban areas also, if there is undisturbed soil, you will find these plants very frequently. As audience is also agreeing with that, they have seen these plants and they have beautiful utilities also. I just wanted to tell that while designing in an urban areas, we often neglect these things and we do only monoculture of planting grasses and putting only those palm trees which are not native at all. So instead of that, we have such a large number of diversity, naturally growing plants and trees in our forest and around us. We can certainly plant those trees in our gardens. We can enjoy the beauty of those natural trees or native trees those are around us, and they have very great role to play in our ecosystem. So ecosystem health is all about these native plants. You just will be surprised, just for the knowledge of the audiences, there are certain states in United States wherein our people tree has been banned. Ban means forest department has, decided not to allow any single sapling to establish there. Can we imagine that with the ecosystem that we have? Most of the landscape of our country is having the presence of people tree, and people is river tree. That is how it has been named as Ficus religiosa. So it has to do with the religion. So even scientific fraternity also has agreed upon how religiously we are connected with the people tree. And the same people tree is, denied in United States of America, in few states. So forest department have been given the information that they should not allow that to grow. But just imagine how important that species is with the local ecosystem. I'll be sharing my observation on that tree also in the last few slides. So you will come across and then we will realize how these native trees are so much important. And once we said these native trees, it is also likely that we need not take care of the soil much because they are very robust. They are growing with the natural selection. They have adapted themselves. So just availability of water many times fulfill to have such plants in our say backyard, or we can grow these medicinally important plants. But of course my topic is not to emphasize on that much. It is all about the native plants and their role in ecosystem that we are going to see more. These are all our medicinally important plants, but they are also available in the uh, say our vegetational ground vegetation. This chitrak or plumbago zeylanica is very common uh, herb. It grows up to 1 meter many times. It is not that erect plant, but as a undergrowth all along the river banks, you will find it growing. Yes, many of these plants, like the one that we are looking at, Calotropis, it is, habitat of number of insects to lay down their eggs because even butterflies, they prefer this plant to lay down or to stick their eggs on the leaf, which are otherwise not being preferred by the uh, other birds to visit, and that is how they are being safeguarded because of the milky latex. The plant is not being visited by number of birds, otherwise they can be eaten up by these. We have also coming across the name also. Those who are observing this, they will definitely agree what I am saying. Cassia occidentalis is, of course, it has now grown everywhere. Many of plants we call them as they are not native. They are coming, but they have established since several hundreds of years, and they are proliferating. Several such trees are there. Even for that matter, I have one slide showing the Pithocilobium dulci, which is being introduced plant, जिसको जंगल जलेबी हम लोग कहते हैं. पूरा भारतवर्ष जानता है उसको. But it has adapted to so well in our ecosystem that birds are mostly all frugivorous birds, parakeets. They do reside in the holes of this trunk of the Pithocilobium, that is jungle jalebi. गोरस आमली किसको कहते हैं वेस्टर्न इंडिया में, बिकॉज दूध जैसे आमली, इमली यानी उसका फल. सो जो व्हाइट फल होता है, इट इज स्वीट लाइक मिल्क. So these trees, there are records that in 1795 it was introduced, and some of them are saying also beyond that. So hardly it is 250-year-old tree, but now it has coming up, or rather, it is supporting our um, diversity, bird diversity here. Rakesh, next please. While choosing the plant, you will agree that we need to be very cautious. Many times what has happened, for example, if I want to give another example, Prosopis juliflora, I have seen this plant all throughout India, almost major part of the country. It is not growing, say, in the foothill of Himalaya. So from that side onwards in north India, it is not growing. But rest of the things like Dehradun downward till Kanyakumari, you will find this Prosopis juliflora, uh, विलायती कीकर, गुजराती में उसको गांडव बावल बोलते हैं, मतलब पागल पागल बबूल. So it is because of the growth is so exuberant. So it is growing everywhere. Even from say Kutch, that is extreme dry conditions on the coastal area, you will find it growing till Siliguri. It is growing in West Bengal. So all along, Kolkata to Siliguri, you will find that tree. Central India is being captured, covered by this tree. Majority of the ravines area are being covered by prosopis. But prosopis, if you see in of Saurashtra part of Gujarat, it is giving maximum economical benefit. Although we are concerned about the local vegetation, I have seen certain number of local plants which are very small and herbaceous layer recorded as rare things. Those habitats are gone with the growth of this tree. But this tree is also having, prosopis is also having higher calorific value, and it has become the maximum earning plant for poor in Saurashtra area. Because of calorific value of the coal even, coal also burns very well. So Gando Bawal is again giving the highest economy in the Saurashtra or drier area of the Gujarat. Next, please, Rakesh. Rakesh, I will just ask you to, keep it for 1 minute, not more, or even less than that, because
Yes.
I have several slides to show which are very important. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Most of these composite family plants, they are, also helping even pollinators to feed. They offer several different habitats, and those habitats are preferred by small insects to reside with. And that is how all this, like, evolution is major thing to keep that interaction more and more complicated. And this is how the plant evolved along with the insect. Is very interesting thing to study. Next, please. Now, this plant also we know. Actually, several such important medicinal properties are mentioned. But you can make simple water into gel by crushing the leaf of this climber. This is also very common climber in the bushy areas. Next, please. Next, please. Rakesh, you just go on changing the slide, please. Next, please. I'll request audience not to, worry about reading everything. My email will be shared to every one of you. Those who are interested, I can share this slides to them. No problem. Next, please. Next, please. I am also to, design and advocate plantation. I have done few projects for that. And I have realized that we as a society are not that aware about the beauty of our own local plants. There are beautiful plants that we have, but we never appreciate that. We like those plants which are available in the nursery. We always, praise those plants which are introduced to us. Many in India among us will not or will never know that champa we call red champa, white champa. Those are all introduced plants. Even Gulmohar, we have film on that. We have all literature also available now. Gulmohar is not known to our ancestors. Again, it is introduced some 150 years back or so, not beyond that even. Like most of the plants, those we use for eating purpose, like potato, then several such chilies, those are introduced ones. So we must understand, you can Google for say each plant that you are interested in looking at. So you can just see that whether these plants are local or other native or exotic. You will come across that.
Yeah, keep
Most of our
changing in
agriculture
10
practices
seconds.
has resulted into the such
Hmm.
exchange to great extent. Next, please. I have very important slides further. Please ignore other slides now. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Rakesh, please go ahead. Yeah. You can keep it for 3-4 seconds and go ahead. Please. Now, most of the ravines are kavach, infested, we can say, because that grows very beautifully in the ravine area. This one is also like that, Pergularia. Next, please.
Nice one.
Jasud is also local, but not we are not using that much. Still, I feel in urban areas, it is very easy to grow in pots also, and we can get the benefit of this plant. Next, please. Next, please. These are various habitats and plants, those are there, as you can see. They are all our native plants and they are really important. I will not be able to describe what is exact role of each one of them because you need to have lot of experience and field work and data availability with you. But if you study only one plant or two plant and you can get your doctorate also because there are a lot many things those are happening with that plant. If you study the habitat, growth of the plant, its phenology, and the similar life cycle on the animals or insects, those are dependent on that. They're all incoherent. They're all go hand in hand. So to bring that awareness and realization, one has to study it properly. There are several such cross references also. Most of these plants are studied also. But then such studies, I will agree those who are into this field, there is hardly, data which is available for the correlation of this to this. I am having one slide which shows that butterflies are being studied properly with the host plants. So those type of studies are now coming up and it's a compilation of uh, that study that several such studies all throughout the world and they have identified large number of species of butterflies belonging to the host plants. So that also will come across. Next, please. So this is the slide that I was talking about. As you can see, few families and subfamilies that goes in some 53 number, 337. This list is available on the site that has been mentioned here. And there are almost 1600 herbaceous plants, 100 shrubs and climbers, and 300 species, tree species are mentioned that host these 337 butterfly species. So this is amazing again compilation you will find on this link. Next, please. So Again, the habitat that plant provide, it is also soil is very important factor. Several such, saline surface lover or salt lover butterflies often seen on the wet surfaces. The spotted parrot is usually seen sucking the honey, but at times it also comes down. And then signature spider. If you go in, say, undisturbed areas all along the wet water bodies, you will come across this signature spider. Next, please. Now, this is giant tent spider on the bushes. You can see in the first slide that is on the left top, you have those nets, and these are all those, their tent. So each tent will have very typical structure in it. We simply cannot make that even by using uh, kind of rope. If you try this, it is very difficult to have such type of hanging structure wherein in the center you will find there is a spider and those are eggs. Those are hanging upward. Next, please. Another, uh, the insect, they have the shelter beneath the leaf also, and you can have this. They keep their egg and larva develop in the thorns. Those are joined. There are several such insects. Another thing is also there, like they are spittle bugs. They are also having a foam-like structure wherein they have their young ones inside. Yeah, bagworms, you can say. Then, of course, plants, how they, if you see it carefully, you will also find the pupal stage that has been, just over finished, and then butterflies come out, and there is a mating going on with sickle sena on Cassia-tora. Next, please. Now, trees like Brittellia, Diospyros cordifolia, Maina lexiflora, they are all like local trees. They will have such spines. These spines also shows that the evolution, in evolution, they don't develop spine as such on the branches, but the main trunk also turned the branches on drying, turn into these spines. So they are very strong spines. Um, Such trees, they are all three trees, and they have this type of structures. Even it is very, confusing botany point of view to define and to understand it. It's a dried branch itself that have the point. Once upon a time, that branch will have the leaves on the tip of it. Now it has been reduced into the spine. Next, please. So another habitat, that is forest habitat and bryophytes, those are utilizing whatever minerals and nutrients are available on the bark itself. And those bryophytes, I mean to say, plants with having two bodies, only root system and the photosynthetic areas. They will also have even, structures like in the next, or rather on the right side, you can see the spore bearing organs. Next, please. Now again, evolution and the, development coexistence of water birds, that is purple murren is been seen with the Ipomia aquatica here, and in the backside you can find that typhi is also growing there. Next, please. Very habitat specific, as I mentioned. This is the Pithecostomium dulce trunk, and the birds or other parakeet, those are there. Next, please. Some of the trees growing naturally in western India. I have given only few. The list can go even in more than 100. Those are common, I should say. But these trees, I have also tried to give their Hindi name. Gujarati name and Hindi names are there. I thought of giving it because these trees are belong to central India and wherein Hindi is very common. And of course, Rajasthani, Gujarati, those languages are also understood. And even North Maharashtra, almost same vocabulary is there. And that is how I am giving this. They are all native trees and with, of course, various purposes. As we know, we use it for our own kind of day-to-day life as well as in ecosystem. They are very important. For that matter, if you see khajuri and tad, those are mentioned in the end. Those are the palms, but they are forming the majority of the kind of dry areas. Even khajuri is indicator of underground water. Next, please. Here I am talking about the, if you are bird observer, those who are birders here in this, they can or they should try to understand where they are looking at, because at various canopies, birds have various species of birds have preference to sit and spend the time. So majority of the time spent by certain species of birds, they will be shady area. Then they will never be seen on the peripheral area, that is lateral branching as I've shown, or even they will not be seen on the top somewhere where the heronries are taking place near water bodies. And birds of prey, they always sit in the top. So such type of concurrent or observations along with other species. Whenever if you are interested in knowing the birds, try to understand what type of tree it is, what type of shrub it is that is being used by that bird, and where exactly most of the time of the life that bird is spending. So they are very specific. Next, please. These are the habitat. I just want to show how the native trees are helping providing habitat to the birds. This is weaver bird. As you can see, entire colony in the khajuri plant. Phoenix sylvestris. Next, please. This is oriole, golden oriole bird with the nest. This is building the nest where the branch coming out from the stem. It is very typical of them. Next, please. A shikra bird and the nest in the Mitragaina parvifolia, that is kadam tree, actual kadam tree of Vrindavan. श्री कृष्ण के साथ जुड़ा हुआ. Next, please. This is the heronry. I wanted to show how the bird heronries are preference of the canopy. And of course, these trees are like acacia or ficus species, or if it is in forest area, you will find um, jamun species, wild jamun species. So Syzygium hainianum, Syzygium rubicundum. So those are the species those we found in the forest areas, dry deciduous forest areas. Next, please. Here, I want to emphasize that I have seen such open bill stork nesting on the plants. This was near the railway track, very disturbed habitat, one can say, but still you will find those birds there. And these are the names in Gujarati. Rato Sarasro is Shiris, then Neem, Nilgiri, Banyan, People, Black Shiris, Kalo Shiris, and then Pyre, that is Ficus virens, Bower, Babul, and Amli. And the nesting material is very specific. These birds are very, smart birds. They prefer certain twigs only for nesting their, um, say, nest, because uh, those nests are almost half a meter or even more than 1 meter tall. What they do, they just collect this type of twigs from Limdo, Gunda, Nilgiri. The Gunda is uh, Cordia dichotoma, Neem, Nilgiri, Babul, and Imli. The twig of these plants or trees are very sturdy. If you see the wood, they will not get infection very quickly. So fungal infection is Nilgiri is eucalyptus. Fungal infection is not occurring to these twigs. So they try to see that their nest will survive for longer time. And that is how you go on seeing that there is a piling up of such twigs one above another, and many times it goes up to even in particularly in this bird 1 meter height of that twig I have seen. So selection of nesting tree as well as material. Here are the cormorants. They occupy the ficus species most of the time. Next, please. Here we can see there is multi-storied kind of concept also. The tad or Boreopsis flabellifer tree, and then close up of it. It's a bird habitat. All over the trunk you will have the, and still the tree was living. It was not dead. Next, please. Next, please. These are all bird nests, and of course, bat. Those are hanging downward on the ficus. And then there are, to connect yourself, this is the example of it. How you will connect with the heritage trees is to have the observation in your urban areas. You can list them out, get their years approximate. Next, please. These are all records that I have collected from my city, Baroda. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Now, these are the trees that I was talking about. You can see the canopy and grandeur of those. They are all occurring. Fortunately, they have not been touched by urban developmental activities, and they are there in our city or some private compounds like palace or even our public garden. Next, please. Next, please. This one is in at present in the news. If you can Google it, you will find that Adansonia digitata, one road is being passing nearby this tree, and we have shown our concerns as concerned citizens. We have put it to the collectorate office that road should be a bit away from that because it's a root zone area where they are planning the roads. So this is being said as 950-year-old. After carbon dating study, it has appeared that this tree is that old. So several such heritage trees. I have even published my observation in 2009 in local Gujarati news magazine as a small article, wherein I have recorded how many number of birds, various diversity. We can definitely, have that. Such type of trees are to be taken care of. Next, please. And then what citizens can do with the heritage trees or heritage areas that we have. Next, please. We can safeguard our uh, water system, lakes, our river. We can, of course, worry because this is what is happening when the authority comes across and they do some developmental work or even in private houses also. We are often worried about our own compound wall, but we don't worry about the plant that is next to it and giving us say oxygen and every life supporting system. So we need to change our designs also many times considering the growth of the tree. Next, please. Of course, again, removing the soil all along the river bank, and then degradation or soil, say, siltation occurs in the river, and there is a flood. So these things are all connected. We need to have our green spaces and open spaces available for the vegetation and other biodiversity to prosper. Next, please. So these are the connecting citizens with that of आप राखी बंधवा सकते हो trees को. You can talk about the nature walk. We have very beautiful group over here in Baroda. I appeal to the audience, those who are interested in, they can also start in their own nature walk groups in their own city. They can try to reach out to such areas, try to identify trees and describe. आपके भी सिटी के अंदर बॉटनिस्ट होंगे, यू ट्राई टू गेट botanist and zoologist in your group, and they will make you acquainted with the local diversity that you have. Next please. Several such activities, those are there. You can have your ghat restoration on the river. You can, citizen can do many things all together. Only the thing is you need to have a group formation first. Get the confidence, gain the confidence, and then you can lead or you can direct them, and then people can do wonders. Next please. Next please. This is the heritage trees being planted by our own Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad. And then tree is 150-year-old banyan tree. This banyan sapling he brought from the Sri Lanka, and it is growing in Baroda. Next, please. We have several such references in nature walk we conduct, and we talk about how in Kalidas Raghuvansham he described about several such native trees, including our own Cassia fistula, Indian laburnum tree. He is also describing our Tard tree. He has described tamarindus. He has described several such local trees, native trees, 1500 years back. Next, please. Next, please. This is all about the awareness and what type of habitat we had by lotus in our pond, and now it is coming up as this floating dangers of the plant, that is Acornia. Next, please. This is what I was to talk about. Then I have observation on one people tree right in the city area, a small people tree, around 30, 35-year old people tree. But then I have recorded 28 bird species on that. And the list of it is also given in the next slide, please. This has been published by Times of India. Next, please. It is not that only bird, but there are other things also. So again, I would like to sum up like soil, hydrology, climate, plant evolution, animal evolution takes place at any given place. Then comes the ground vegetation. There is increase in soil root zone. That also, there is exchange of minerals and soil plants and plant roots. Then there is succession, soil moisture content, porosity of the soil are all related, and ultimately comes the trees and stability comes into the system. So this is how we have our forest. But it is not that only to safeguard our forest we are going to check the climate change. No, we have to act locally. We have to safeguard our local native vegetation. Next please. I will take some 3 4 more minutes to sum up. Next please. Native, I have talked about all this. Even dead tree, I wish to say that dead tree is also of very great support to run the ecosystem. If you just imagine, if there wouldn't be dead tree, you are going to lose several such fungus those are growing on that dead wood, and there won't be any proper cycling of the forest soil. If you remove all the termites from the forest, I often say this to the nature work people, if you remove termites from the forest soil, there won't be forests at all, because termites are taken up or eaten away by the ants. So ants by movement are, there is a lot of exchange of minerals in the soil. So porosity of the soil is maintained. Moment you have porosity, you will have more water to go into it. So that moisture, soil moisture is all about the forest diversity. So we have to understand this ecological, very intrinsic, very important, very fragile, say bonding between termite and that of ants and that of roots and then the forest and the soil. They're all interlinked, connected to each other. And this has happened over the period of say, selection, evolution, everything have played for several such hundreds of years or thousands of years. And then we are able to see them now. We have not done anything of that. We have not done any single thing for the soil fertility. Okay. Just remember that whatever soil is available around us, is all nature has given us. We have not done anything to that. So we try to respect that, and we try to respect this diversity. Next, please. So, and these are the things I have talked about. Urbanization has already changed our entire soil characteristic, plants, diversity, and again, that is being reflected into the insect. And we have rather made into the mess by cities making them into the metros. So, what we can do is we need to have this shrinking habitat जो है उसको संभालना पड़ेगा. We need to check our concretization. We need to have somewhere say no to the development, so-called development of concrete. So we need to ensure the ravines, riparian surfaces by not allowing any dumping on that. We need to keep those areas out of our riverfront development and lake beautification part, because those things are bringing all these alterations to our ecosystem which are not wanted for the healthy ecosystem. It changes the water quality, it changes the soil surfaces also, and then there won't be any percolation in the rainwater. So rainwater harvesting is also being checked heavily by this concretized riparian surfaces, which are very otherwise important for ecosystem cycling. And whatever green native species are there, native trees are there, that we have to respect them. We have to keep those areas intact. We should not allow any monoculture of trees. We should not, change our trees with that of planting palms, bringing from somewhere else. So we need to check all these things as a citizen, as a concerned citizen. And if we are really worried about sustainable development, next slide, please. We need to say no to these things. I hope you understood what I mean to say, though it was not, you know, I have to wind up at several points, but I'm very sure that I have done justice to the given time to me. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Vishwa, for allowing me, bringing me here in front of such a nice audience. Audience, thank you very much. You can certainly exchange your interaction on my email that has been given, and it will be available to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time and invaluable insights. I'd like to thank everyone for attending the main talk. Before we move on to the Q&A, I'd like to take 30 seconds of your time for a quick poll. This will help us get to know you better and tailor future topics that we bring to you. A big thank you to everyone here today. Your presence and participation means a lot to us. And it also makes this webinar a huge success. While you fill out the poll, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Jitendra Gavli, for sharing his invaluable time and insights with us. I'd like to now call upon founder of Vishwa, Shravani Mulapudi, to take the Q&A further.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Dr. Jitendra Gavali, I would like to put a big pranam to you. What you're doing is invaluable. Just sharing those trees, those names, what it can do. While it is extremely important and urgent, there is a lack of sensitivity to 95% of the people in this country today. They have no clue how randomly they can just about cut off a 900-year-old tree without thinking. There's a complete insensitivity that has come across our country. And at a time like this, for you to talk about a topic like this is the need of the hour. Thank you so much once again. And thank you to all the participants. There were more than 170 when I last saw. I can see so many people who are interested across the country. But that is not enough. Anyway, thank you to all of you for participating. And thank you to the Vishwa team, Trishant, Rakesh, and all of you. You all have done a great job. With this, I will go on to our
I'll just quickly complete what are the upcoming talks because it's time up. And after that, we will continue with the um, Q&As. The upcoming talks are on ecology and environment. Speaker is Ragesh Dubudu, founder, Faculty Media. The topic he's talking about is government, the public data, what it can inform us, but only if we understand it. Making sense of the government data for smarter decision. This is on 8th March 2025, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then there is another talk by Darshana Patel, environment engineer. This is on solid waste, current practices and the legal implications. 22nd March, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. My request to all of you is, so it is with the limited funds that we have, this is what we're doing, but to promote it, we are unable to do it as it needs to be promoted. We request that please share about Vishwa Talks and the topics that are coming up with your friends and family who would be interested in these topics. Yeah, another last announcement I would like to make is Vishwa has come up with a material donation. We do it twice a year, once in Diwali and once in Ugadi time. Ugadi is on March 31st. And for those of you in Hyderabad who have anything at home which can be of use to somebody else, let us recreate the circular economy. And there are around 500 slums in Hyderabad. And as of now, the donations we are getting, every year we're getting around 200 to 400 people who are coming forward to donate. When I say 200 to 400, one number can actually be an entire apartment block. These people, what we are getting, it is sufficient to give it to around 2-3 slums. But we can actually give it to, if there are more people willing to give old clothes or old toys or old books, it will be very useful instead of, after some time getting it into landfills. So please do feel free to share. Lastly, now I'll go on to the Q&A session. Please unmute yourself. Yeah. Unmute yourself, Mr. Vasant Kumar. And please, all of you will be brief, not more than 30 seconds for each of your questions.
30 seconds, very short. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, it was a very detailed presentation. Thank you so much. And I was thankful to Vishwa also.
Your voice is a little fading, very far away.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
My question is, sir, is it possible for us to use sewage of mega cities, transport it in tankers to wastelands and desert areas so that we can enrich the soil and also grow native species of trees, etc. Take, for example, Kejri in Rajasthan. It is a very wonderful tree that is multi-utility. And like that, in Karnataka is the second largest next to Rajasthan in wastelands. There are so many wastelands that can be converted into green patches by enriching the soil, by transporting sewage from major cities, so that we will solve both the problems, solving the megacity problem and also enriching the soil. Your considered opinion, sir. I am aware about other things also, about smell, etc., but the searing heat of the desert and also the wasteland where people don't go or animals don't go, the nature will take care of itself and see that the soil is enriched. Your considered opinion, sir?
Yes, sir. Actually, I am against the tree translocation as such. Uh, I don't know. I don't prefer that because, see, you can grow trees in the area if you have wasteland. Actually, wastelands are in our country are real supporter of rare biodiversity. We never know that. And we call it wasteland, but there is nothing like wasteland, first of all. And those are, ecologically very important areas supporting certain type of plants and animals, which are otherwise not seen in forest, not seen in our areas like agriculture zones. But
Endemic.
to lift trees from one place and putting it in, altogether different habitat is again a stressful for that tree to survive.
So now, sir, I'm not talking about
And yes,
transplantation.
you
I'm
can,
talking about
yes,
only
sir. I'm just coming to
transport.
that. I have another thing to say.
Yes.
Wasteland can be converted into fertile land by introducing very systematically composting there and putting several such primary successor herbaceous plants there, and then that area can be converted into the forest land. It can done. Regarding trees, our culture is to live along with the tree. So we try to safeguard those trees, those surfaces, soil surfaces. Even within urban areas also, we are leaving it alone without covering by paver concrete and tar and concretizing. If you leave that area, tree will survive because all these native trees are not dying before 100 years. They are always living 150, 250-year old trees. So if you allow any neem tree, for example, it can grow up to 200 years or 250 years. So my always point is that we don't have 100 years के बाद हमारा कितना future है. We don't know that because the way we are living this life, with this consumption of our natural resources. But one tree is very sure that if given soil is there, it can survive for 200 years. A single tree I'm talking about. So sag, for example, teak. Teak, how much old we can expect? There is a teak tree forest which is 1,000-year old, and there are 850 to 1,000-year old teak forests. Teak trees are there. We cannot simply imagine this because teak for us is wood giving. Just plant it after 20 years, cut it, whatever stumps coming out, again you cut it after 10 years. So this is what is our approach so far. This agroforestry one way is good that it was meant for extracting the wood, but our understanding of forest and the age of the tree has been reduced by that to very great extent.
That I was referring to treated or untreated sewage of megacities being transported to wastelands or desert areas for enriching the
Sir,
soil. I'm not
yes, sir.
talking about transplantation of
Treating
there.
treating any pollution, treating at source level itself is very advisable because it is very costly affair. If you are talking about collecting the sewage from urban areas and taking or carrying them, to have that again you have to have the vehicles, and you are again having so much of shuttling of the vehicles. It will be very costly affair rather than treating that sewage in the possible scientific methodology and reusing the material or whatever coming out, even the water for that matter, to the urban area itself or the gardens of urban area itself. That will be more appropriate rather than carrying that to somewhere else.
Sir,
That is what is my take.
in many urban areas, the sewage that is running across the city is being utilized in some areas where there is land is available by farmers to grow greens and other things, vegetables and other things. That is also untreated sewage. Still,
Can I answer this question? Can I answer this question?
please.
Yeah. Vasant Kumarji, sewage, to carry it is very heavy. So what is done is it is treated. Sewage treatment plants are there. And there are other people who take the wet waste from all places and they convert it into manure. This definitely is a good idea, both from the sewage treatment and the wet waste treatment. Is definitely a great idea for the government to collect it and put it in wastelands such that the native species get the nourishment they need and put it in barren lands. However, right now, we do not have a policy where the government collects all these manure which is getting created in all these places. This is my personal observation.
I understand, ma'am. And most of the trees, for example, in Mysore, 450 tons of waste is produced.
Yes.
Half of it can be converted into manure,
Yes.
soil rich with nutrients.
Yes.
But unfortunately, not all of it is being, for example, sewage. So much of sewage is being let into the water bodies in Mysore. It is not being done. Not all the STPs are actually working. It's only for namesake that they have. And unfortunately, we are eating such dirty food, greens and other things. If you test them for various types of diseases, bacteria, you will find most of it is containing all these things. So what I'm saying is, it is possible to transport. The ultimately what happens is, when those trees grow, they will grow and give you. For example, one tree, a grown-up tree, gives oxygen for 134 years to a man if he is alive. This is the kind of thing we have. So we will have to develop, stop concretizing city areas, where, for example, race courses in city areas. Some of the major cities have such, it's a waste. It can be converted into a wonderful lung space, and also golf courses. And those things can be transported anywhere outside, because it's a very few persons utility. Such policy decisions will have to be taken. And I urge that people like you, scientists, will have to manage these things. Please, thank you.
Ma'am, you're on mute. Just a minute.
There is also a need for the government to make laws. And again, my personal opinion that that they have, instead of giving freebies, they should buy this from the sewage treatment plants and the solid waste management companies and give it to farmers, or put it in waste or put it in barren lands and make them nutritious.
You're right, ma'am. And I have also suggested that the Paura Karmikas who collect these waste, they may be made to take these manures to the doorstep of people who have got pots and other things, who are fond of greenery, and they can sell it for some nominal price.
Yes.
That way,
they should give it for free. Let them give it for free. Because why use pesticides and fertilizers? Chemical fertilizers. They should give it for free. Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So next question, Shumail, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much on presentation. Very interesting presentation. And I want to ask you a question. How, according to your opinion, native vegetation can support resolution problems of agriculture and food insecurity? How native vegetation can support development, agriculture, development, food security, and another subject with social importance?
I'd like to repeat the question if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
How can indigenous trees plantation help agricultural development and also solve food insecurity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, this is my question.
I would like to mention that there are certain indigenous species which are not being taken in our horticulture practices. Though the fruits are edible, there are several such fruits, those are otherwise used for some different purpose, but it is not been studied, it is not been given research importance, and they are neglected. I can give you the example. The second largest biofuel tree is growing in India wildly, but we always talk about another species. That is the biofuel we are getting from Brazil. That same species is also growing at Jatropha curcas, is also growing at India, but we don't, propagate. We never try to increase the production. The second largest that I am talking, which is in larger number all along the streams and rivers, is Deris pinnata or Pongamia pinnata. It is also a biofuel tree, but we never go into the production of it. We never try to increase how we can increase the number of fruits of that tree. There are Millusa tomentosa, another species with very tasty fruit, but those are restricted to forest areas only. The commercialization aspect of that tree is not been exploited or not been studied through. So there are several such examples we have in India, widely growing in large number, but not utilized and identified by the horticulturist. Thank you, sir.
I'd like to add to
Yeah,
your question, Shmuel. In the oh, we have been having a lot of urban migration. Previously, people living in villages had access to these indigenous trees and shrubs. So they had a overall nutrition going to them. Now with urbanization, the Indian families are losing more than 70% of their nutrition that they used to get. Previously, every household used to grow their own leafy vegetables or have a gooseberry tree in their house, a curry leaf tree in their house and all. But right now, due to urbanization and people living in flats, a lot of this nutrition has gone out of their tables and it's impacting health in a big way in India. Yeah. Would that answer your question?
yeah, this answer, and I have another short question. Another question is what authorities and government of India do for protecting on native trees, on protecting on native vegetation.
So, what are the actions the government takes to protect the indigenous trees and vegetation in India?
Actually, forest department has realized over the period of time that in India, awareness regarding our native species and their survival, I think it is now 20, 30-year old in the practice. Since last 30 years, we have taken care of those species which are very rare in the tissue culture or any other advanced, say, seed technology program. Those are studied properly and the propagation, because there are several reasons for certain species for not to grow into the large number. Seed dormancy is another thing. Fertility as such or seed production is another problem. So they try to overcome these problems scientifically. Forest Department has given such projects to various institutes across the India, and they are into the propagation of those trees, and they are trying to put the sapling in the same habitat, reintroducing to the same habitat and increasing the number. But of course, ecologically, those numbers are also need to be studied, because there are several such proportions of the species that if it is 1 is to 100 of another, you need to maintain that 1 is to 100 ratio among the two species. So that is another ecological aspect to it. But as sir is asking about whether it has been taken care of, yes, I will say they have identified several number of species, and this since last 30 years, the conservation efforts are in the practice.
Can I add to that a little
Yes,
bit?
ma'am, please.
So India is a very vast country, and the indigenous species of every location is slightly different depending on whether they are hills. They're very different if they are hills and plains and other tropical and other besides the seaside. However, still there is a kind of a tropical plantation across the country. And yes, the forest department is making an effort, but it is very unfortunate. The awareness and the sensitivity, right from the top layer of the government to the bottom layer, is the percentage of people who actually understand the gravity of the situation is probably 1 or 2%. And that's a reality we need to face. Number two, there is a need that every 50 kilometers, the government needs to keep botanical gardens of around 50 acres to 100 acres, which will be a place to protect the indigenous species of that locality. And it should be open to the local zoologists, botanists, children, people who are passionate to work there, to volunteer there, to contribute. This is the need of the hour. This is a very urgent requirement, an immediate requirement. The government is giving lands, certain lands to certain people who would like to make it into parks. But my own experience has shown that due to lack of awareness, if there is a local village tank, they fill it up and they make a playground. They cut out the local species and they try to bring in species, as Dr. Jitendra said, from a Brazil or a Africa or a Portugal. This awareness today is very low, and the government needs to take immediate action. And even if they're giving some lands, my experience is people are taking these lands for real estate purposes. And the people who are very rarely the people who are taking these lands understand the importance of indigenous species. I have seen people, putting 10 acres of neem trees, 10 acres of eucalyptus, even when they have taken from the government. So, and riverfronts are not being protected as they need to be protected. Trishant, you can talk a little bit about that. Because see, this Vishwa is a platform, I request people to not take it that we are judgmental. I request people to see that we're putting our point of views. You may accept it, you may not accept it, but it's a point of view which you can consider it. So, Shant, it would be great if you can talk about the riverfronts.
Uh, yes, we have essentially seen disruption of a lot of native vegetation and animal species, reptile species in the last few years. Sir and me are from the same town, and Sir is in the forefront of activist groups trying river restoration and creating awareness about the culture related to the river bodies and vegetation around it, animals around it. And every time the government changes, every time the parties change, the ministers change, every time the bureaucrats change, every time the businessmen change, there's a whole list of long problems everybody faces. So the groundwork essentially becomes very low, and other activities people start doing to gain attention for personal motives most of the time, which is a big problem for a lot of people who are trying to do groundwork. Sir will be able to mention about riverfronts and um, the problems we are facing in our town as an example. Sir, if I may request you, please.
Yeah, actually, when this riverfront came in 2016, uh, we as a concerned citizen, I was unfortunately first person to get into the anatomical part of how the riverfront is being built everywhere. They build on the both the end wherever you want to enjoy that water pulled from somewhere else, not even that belonging to the river. So that water is being poured in, and it's a pool rather having riverfront has become cool in India, unfortunately. You will have barrages on both the side to check that water not flowing out of the river. And then the water is being poured in from somewhere other source, maybe nearby lake or some other river altogether. And then riverfront is being developed, all concretized. The concern here is riverfront is all concretized 2 feet width of the concrete, and it goes straight down to the basal rock where it rests, just to ensure that there won't be any erosion in the area, bank area. And then, of course, entire bank is a concretized one, wherein people can have walkway and then, small green patches. Even they put artificial grass also on that, just to have the greenery in your eyes. But such riverfronts are actually damaging our river system. Rivers are, since thousands of years, natural surfaces of water harvesting. Whatever shallow areas are there in the urban area, we call it wasteland, but they are actually riverine areas. And these are very important areas during the flood time. They act as a buffer zone, as a big sponge that river carries. Those are the actual body parts of the river. Lakes, small cars or shallow areas, those are meeting to the river, or any other outlet that is coming and meeting to the river. Those areas need to be identified and demarcated for not having any concrete development. Rather, we are doing reverse. In riverfront, what we do is we are making the river flow straight. The straightening is occurring, concretization is occurring. And then the same corporation will ask you to have compulsory water harvesting on your rooftop. Is it not? In urban areas in India, they are making it compulsory for every citizen to have rooftop water harvesting in the name of they are caring about the water. But what about the natural areas? Those are having this, water absorbing surfaces for thousands of meters. Over there, same government is checking that water percolation by putting concrete. So it's a completely, we are being put like this, blind. You don't know the ecosystem. You don't carry any importance of the river or lake surfaces. Those are open. We need to understand the importance of these areas. They are the most crucial areas in ecosystem. Riparian surfaces we call. Riparian ecology is always the soil water interface, which is very important. And by not having that, we are rather inviting more floods in the same city. By straightening river, downward, whosoever comes, those villages will have severe flood. Those are gushing through that straight rivers. So straightening is not advisable. Concretization is not at all advisable. And exactly that is being done in our riverfront designs.
So I'm so glad, Dr. Jitendra, you've been voicing it on video now, the issues that are happening. One of the sad part is we have an administrative system. We have the IAS officers. There may be a lot of good in it, but I notice sometimes that the people in charge of these, like the riverside rejuvenation, or for example, Auroville, what's happening in Auroville, we are keeping people, officers who are probably extremely capable to get a job done with the right intentions. However, their lack of knowledge, lack of sensitivity to such a important topic is making some very wrong decisions and impacting the country. This definitely needs to be addressed. I have my personal experience in Auroville is people have come from all over the world to be there, and they have contributed to our country in a very big way. People have spent 30 years, 40 years. Please, there's a link about Paul's talk posted in the chat box. He was a speaker in our Vishwa talks on the same topic, native species, indigenous species. They have spent 30 years, 50 years of their life not taking a rupee to put in their pocket or their personal earnings. They've identified indigenous species along the Coromandel coast, picked up 2 trees, which luckily, thanks some temple somewhere has protected it, picked up those 2 seeds, made it into 10 seeds, 10 trees, then 200, then 10,000, and made barren lands, adopted 50 acres and converted them into indigenous forests. Now, these people in Auroville are suffering and disempowered because those 50 acres of land, barren land, which they have converted, the government wants to put a road. They're saying, hey, this is a tree which is 30 years old. Move the road by 10 feet. But the officer thinks, no. 50 years ago, mother said the road should be a perfect circle. So right now, we don't care if the tree is 100-year-old, 1,000-year-old, we will cut it. The very concept with which Auroville is started, the very concept with which the sensitivity is started, is gone. Because someone sitting there as an IAS officer is not sensitive, is not knowledgeable about this situation. Prashant, would you like to add on this?
Yes, ma'am. A lot of my friends basically have been deported, blacklisted, because they are on special visas. They are Aurovillians, born and raised in Auroville in India, but they are on special visas. Nobody in Auroville can own land. The whole, I myself planted about 800 trees in a period of 2 years, along with some young individuals in Youth Center Auroville, and uh, one IAS officer who was the ex-health and welfare minister from Gujarat and ex-education minister of Gujarat was sent to Auroville to be the council secretary during COVID times when everything was super inactive. And she mentioned to stick to the charter which was originally mentioned. Roger Anger, the creator of one of the creators of the charter, who wrote Auroville's charter, basically mentioned that Auroville shouldn't be a settlement where you build buildings and put in people like any other urban settlement. It is supposed to be a place where people give service, and slowly once people will help them build their own house in a sustainable manner. And if the community comes along to build a house and save the local species and vegetation, this was completely disregarded, and she started sticking to the physical model which was presented 50 years ago. Because of that, they removed a lot of Indian rosewood, red cedar, mahogany, ebony, and a lot of critically endangered species that the NGT, the National Green Tribunal, wouldn't allow to cut. The National Green Tribunal even they passed stay orders to put a stop to the tree cutting, but it was completely bypassed and overruled, and the action still went on. Most of half of our work, which I did in like 2 years, basically was cut out and thrown aside for monetary um, benefits and for land and for making the road. The contractors are from outside, so they get benefits. The companies that make the roads get benefits. The companies basically pulling in resources from other places get the benefits, and not the Auroville citizens. The 2,500 out of 3,000 Auroville citizens were against all of this, and it still went on. And
Still
the
going on.
government couldn't really do much about it on time. And yeah, the case just keeps on going today too. That's all I can add to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Doc-
can I unmute Anushka Chakraborty for the next
yes, you
question?
should. You should. No, we'll do with Pippa, with Joel, because he's on video.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity. I work in freshwater turtles in Kaziranga Tiger Reserve, and it's riparian condition. what my question is, like the riparian condition, even in protected areas, are degrading in this last decade. The question is, what sustainable steps can we give the riparian community, not just awareness? Because a lot of organizations came and give awareness, sanitation, but after the awareness, they just leave and that's all. But for them to sustain that, the riparian condition stays intact, what can you suggest, ma'am or sir?
I didn't follow. What is librarian?
That
Riparian.
is the bank area of the water bodies.
Okay, sorry.
So the actually always local communities are helpful when there is a kind of economical benefit to them, because again the sustenance is a major question, wherein we always try to adjust with the, or try to improvise or try to alter the ecosystem, is it not? Everywhere that is happening, since like what I feel is, since we started agriculture thousands of years back, we might have started removing the naturally growing plants and putting whatever plants are of our interest. We call it agriculture, we call it civilization, we call it several such things. But in same case, same manner, we have to identify, like your area, I'm not aware about that area, but in that area, what are the economically important species that can be grown? So you try to offer that if you are growing this much, you will be getting that much. So if that sort of solution, I really do not know exactly which plants are there growing, but you try to identify by interacting with them, community itself, and then finding out if there is some traditional method, if there is demand in some local pharmaceutical, if that sort of connection is being brought in, definitely the community those are residing that area will try to grow them more, and by growing them more, again they are helping the riparian ecosystem, riparian plant itself to survive there in more number. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. You answer my question. Thank you, sir.
There is a question by Sarthak S. Soni. Please shed some light on the exotic and indigenous pests and insects that lay eggs in these plants and trees, and mostly form a shell-like structure similar in color of the tree bark or plant stem. How to control them? Is it ethical to remove them with help of pesticide?
It is not the ethical, not at all ethical to remove the pest, means using pesticide and killing the insect. But after the observation and the studies, and if even looking at the references in the study, you will come across what are the, prey, what are the preying animals and insect or birds. If those are to be connected and bought in to the ecosystem, then probably we are covering and rather going in the natural way to reduce down the population. It is not that elimination of any species will help up at any point. It is not the elimination. Complete elimination is not at all possible, because we have already bought in several such species which are very rather interesting for us. They have become our food also. Potato, we cannot simply imagine that potato has been bought from somewhere. Our ancestors, some 300 years back, Raja Maharajas were never, they were never seen this. उनको पता भी नहीं होगा potato will look like this. Okay, they will doubt on potato whether it is edible or not. But we know how important potato has been to us now. We cannot simply think of because it is exotic we have to remove. No, this is not the way to support the what you can say uh, any plant or animal or survival of that species. We have to see that whatever we have at present naturally growing, those are sustainable, those are living there. Those are not being, completely removed by putting some exotic at the place. So that is our concern. So in urban areas also, what I would say is to have those natural areas which are, for example, we will not be having any developmental area. We can demark that area. Corporation can take up those decisions. that all along the river bank, we will not do any disturbance. We will not allow any, mall to come there, hotel to, establish there. We will not allow that. So those things are in our hand. We have to identify those areas, small patches. It may be very small patches, but that can have study spots for the natural ecosystem, for interactive zone. People from that local area, school can visit there. Children can make, rather understand their ecosystem. What are those native plants there growing? So those small patches can be identified and put intact without any development. We call all this development, but actually it is destruction. Our development, unfortunately, is not the real development in ecological sense. It can be economical development, but those economical developments ultimately at long run will be again a disastrous.
This is from Pinky Cherian. Sir, how invasive species is beneficial for industrial purposes?
All the invasive species, I should not say that they are all beneficial. No. But many invasive species have, been used for certain extraction. Like, for example, we have Parthenium. Parthenium is definitely having rashish and all. Those are invasive. But then again, if you find out certain characteristics, certain molecule out of that, they are being used for certain purposes in the industries. So those are being extracted, or they are being, collected, and rather planted also at many places. So certain things, certain species are there. See, our definition when it comes to our own survival or economics is a different. We change our definition. We don't go in the natural way of succession, natural, kind of interaction with the soil, and natural way of insect, water, and plant interaction. We don't go for that. We always see that how much beneficial it is, and that is how I started with the slide of those medicinally important plants. Actually, I should not have touched that subject, but we know those plants because since thousands of years, our ancestors have identified that they are native plants, but they are useful in certain curative purposes, medicinal purposes, and that is all. Similarly, we have all edible plants that we say, like mango, jamun, etc. We plant them, we have orchids of that because of our consumption, but it may not be good for soil diversity. We don't know that. We have already changed by putting only mango at certain areas, making it mango orchard. We like that, but we have ultimately changed the soil composition, microbial composition in the that below that canopy. So these type of changes are always there. Means I cannot say that whole world should have the biodiversity, whatever is existing in natural condition. We cannot protect because we are also spreading. Our kind of population is also increasing. We are also capturing natural areas and putting our houses there, our farmhouses there, and we are planting whatever plants of our interests are. So we are definitely changing the soil characteristic, microbial diversity. Those are all changed because of the action.
Are these biophytes seen only on certain trees? Do they contribute to the parent tree health? This is from
Uh, Bryophytes are seen in the kind of moist forests, moist deciduous forests, or if they are very, heavily evergreen moist forest, where there is rainfall falling beyond, say, 1500 millimeter per year average rainfall. So bryophytes are seen there. They are helping to the ecosystem by several such small interaction on the stem itself. Definitely, they are getting the nutrients from the stem bark, but they are attracting several species on the tree trunk. So, in turn, the tree gets several benefits out of that attraction. So, these type of interactions are always going on in the forest. Having bryophytes everywhere will not help again, nor that we will be able to grow them everywhere because slightest of the temperature variation and they will all vanish. We in several such large parts of central India will not be able to grow the bryophytes on the tree trunk the way I have shown in the slide. Those are exclusively belonging to the several shaded areas, moist areas. So we need to understand even if it is same species being benefited in the forest will not be able to grow in the urban area with similar kind of diversity of bryophytes on the trunk.
This is from Bhakti Gala. Where can we get these tree saplings?
Tree saplings are always there in the forest department. We have to identify it in our area, which is the forest department with the large number of nurseries, or rather large size of the nurseries with diverse saplings. You get into the touch with the forest officials, you will come to know that कि you have to travel for that कि यहाँ पे तो नहीं है हमारे पास, there is nothing available in the locality, so you have to travel some 70, 80, 100 kilometer for those specific saplings if you are interested in. Many times I have seen, even in my city also, there are people those who are bringing saplings from across the state. We have several such plants coming from Bangalore, coming from Maharashtra. Somewhere, some nursery is there in Maharashtra. Even majority in my Baroda city area, we have bigger nurseries, and those saplings are being, nurtured in the nurseries of Uttar Pradesh, not in Gujarat or Madhya Pradesh. Forget Rajasthan. But these areas are similar kind of environment. But still, because the nursery wala is belonging to the Uttar Pradesh, he is growing the sapling in their nursery, he bringing to the certain height, and then he supplies here, our state of central Gujarat.
This is from Arav. From where can we get seeds of these plants?
Herbaceous species that I have shown in your area, most of our, say, for example, after winter, we have those fruiting times. So most of these herbs will have either pods or seeds itself. So you can collect those small seeds and pods and grow them. I will always advocate that we need not go every time purchasing some material from some shop. It will not be available. There are very few agriculture universities, those are giving such, medicinally important saplings available, or they might be having the collection of seeds. You can get the seed collection from forest department, or you can on your own go and collect the seeds. If you have not commercial purpose, if you have your own kind of small land and if you want to grow something, and natural succession if you allow, I am very sure about it, without disturbing or trampling the plants. If you have identified certain areas, fenced it, and if you keep it open for nature to come in, there are wonders to see and observe and happening there. Those are actual happening places, I should say, because there is lot of interaction between insects and small herbs those are growing. There will be bird visiting that place, and you will also find a kind of cereal stage that I was describing in the slide. Some shrubs those are growing. The tree sapling, they will come on their own. You need not worry about that. Seed kahan se aaya? Many times you wonder from where this seed has come here. How come this tree is growing here? But there are several such natural factors. Those are, working, like wind is there, water or floods are major important phenomenon. Flood is not devastating all the time. Actually, all throughout our wasteland or unidentified lands are being nurtured by these floods all throughout the country. We are not going to sow any seed somewhere. Okay. From my angan, I'm not crossing my limit to put some plant somewhere. But who is growing there in the forest? Who is growing those plants in the hilly area, in Aravali, in Vidya, in Sahyadri? Who grows the plants? Is all natural phenomena those are occurring there. So let that nature takes care of that.
Sir, if anybody wants native seeds and the native trees rather than the hybrid trees, where do they get them from?
Nature, as I said, forest department at many places. Of course, as you said, ma'am, how the like manager comes, that depend lot on that. Again, if the forester or forest officer, he is a botanist, definitely there will be different approach of that person. He will be collecting those seeds at very right time, because nursery, forest nurseries has to have certain number of, native species every throughout the year. So they take care of that. Whenever there is a fruiting in the forest, They go and collect. Seeds are being collected at regular interval in the forest, and such nurseries are able to provide the native saplings.
Shruti, would you like to ask your question? Before Shruti unmutes herself, in Hyderabad, you can get native species at Pragati resorts. Recently, the My Home people have also started a beautiful place called Aranya besides this Ramanujan gold statue that they have made. These are two places where I have personally seen more than 1,000 species collected by them because of their passion. You can go and collect. I mean, you can request for from their nurseries if you all are interested.
Even for other than forest, this agriculture universities, if you have kind of old agriculture universities with botanical gardens, you will get those things there also. Very rare trees and rare species are available with them if they are established some 50, 60 years back. So
Yeah.
those agriculture universities, they have worked a lot.
Yeah. Shruti, please.
Hello, sir. Very beautiful session going on. I work as a teacher, and how can I educate my students or the local population about the native species of plants and animals so that they do not harm them and they can cultivate them? Like, because the curriculum does not support this, right? So, please provide me some key points, like practical points, so that I can pass on to my students and their family members.
Yeah, this is on based on my own experience in Baroda. Some 18 years back, me and one senior dada, he is like elder brother or fatherly figure. He used to come and we started our nature walk, initial nature walk. Wherever he used to come across some tree, interesting flowering, and if he doesn't know the name, he will come to me. He knows that I am a botanist. I've done PhD, etc. So he will come, he will call me, he will come, and then on scooter we used to, go to that tree, and then I will introduce that tree. Okay, this one is from Africa, this one is from tropical America, this one is local, etc. Whatever it is, the place of origin. And then this is the flowering time, fruiting time, whatever phenology I know with my observation. And we started those, and then several of my friends they started realizing, oh, Sundays we are going to such a nice tree walk, so we would like to join. So those tree walk, ultimately we name it nature walk. Nature walk is now, 1,000 plus members are there in our city. It is now very old activity of ours. We have visited several places several times, many places several times. But we enjoy that, going again and again to the same place, looking and meeting the same trees, looking at same water bodies. Birds are there every time, so we try to identify. Some of us are like, from zoology background, so they talk about the bird. Someone is will be talking about the insect. But this session, whenever we talk, we see that everyone is listening, everyone, because group discipline is very important. So as your teacher, you must be knowing that to make your talk interesting, you have to have certain in your hands. If I am showing you like this plant, look at this plant, how beautiful it is. If I start saying like that as a teacher, you are going to definitely attract number of students over towards you, and they will look at you and they will listen what you say. So you can start. You are a teacher, you said, but you look like student to me on the screen.
Yes, I am pressured.
So you can gather, you just take them out. See, outclass room study, whenever you're taking them out, is very essential and very important, very impactful. So you try to start with your own, school campus. Then you decide upon, okay, with the permission of your teacher, that we are going this Sunday or that Saturday to that particular garden or some location. Then there will be people coming forward you, meeting you and saying, "Ki, Madam, you are doing such a nice activity. You can visit my farmhouse." That thing will happen. This is what is happening with us. They are also offering us some light this snacks also. So we are doing carpooling. We have very disciplined group. We decide upon this gathering point on Sunday morning at 6:30 or 7 we will be gathering, because we have to travel to the distances far from our city. So we go there. Every car wala will bring their car, and then from there, two-wheeler driver will be, rider will be in the car. So we do carpooling also, and this is how we are conducting. It is completely voluntarily activity. There is not a single rupee, collection never happened in our. And this is how the beauty of the group is.
I see.
In fact, what I feel in nature, what we need to learn is whatever is free is very precious.
It is. I have done my I have done my master's in entomology. So I am very fascinated with insects. So while teaching the subject, whenever some topics comes, I ask the students and tell them like this is the insect and this is the quality of this insect and everything. And there is this botanical garden in Delhi. I asked the students to go voluntarily over there. I have never done the nature work, but since you suggested, I would like to do that kind
But
of thing.
asking someone rather than taking initiative on your own will really
Yes,
help.
yes.
And then it will set up the trend. Otherwise, just as a teacher, if you are sending students, they will not learn anything. You have to
Okay,
rope in yourself.
okay.
Ma'am,
Okay.
are you from Delhi, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
You're teaching
Matlab,
in
I am from Varanasi, but at present placed in Delhi.
your students are blessed.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
In fact, Vishwa actually wanted to start camps for children. Um, uh, when Paul had this talk, he's from Auroville and he's got some 50 acres or 150 acres of a botanical garden in Auroville where he collects seeds from across the Coromandel course and he propagates them and again sends them back for people to use it wherever they would like to. So there is a program where you can go and volunteer, stay there for
Okay, what?
days, stay there for a month. So Vishwa could not take it on because of our limited bandwidth. But if you can, take start camps across where people from across the country can join you. You take them to this place. Let them work along with you for a week or 10 days, or even for just a weekend just to see what is happening.
Okay.
You would be contributing a huge way to this country because even if one kid across all those camps is inspired and he becomes an IAS officer or in a power person in power, that could make a lot of difference.
As a
Thank you, ma'am.
teacher, I am coming from community science center, so we interact with the schools. We have several such programs wherein almost 250 schools in a year are connected one way or the other with us directly. We also run inter-school tree garden competition. So that sort of program, if you can have among the schools, you can convey this message to other your fellow teachers in other school. You can have a group of students. You can select, say for example, six standard student or seven standard or eight standard student, 10 student. You give them five sapling to grow. This will, what will happen eventually, you ask them to care for say next 5 years. By the time they come in 12th standard, by then the tree sapling will be grown like a tree. Okay, they need not have the watering also. But this 10 student will always remember their school because you have connected them with the trees. So wherever they go in the world, they will try to come back to their school and try to touch that tree. And that is beautiful feeling, I'm telling. That is what we could do in 32 schools in Baroda. So that sort of initiative.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Agni has a question. Sir, can you briefly cover the healthy way to trim trees on toppings, trimming and cutting?
Yeah, now always the tree is how it grows, like central trunk and the canopy is there. This is a general uh, aspect of the tree growth. Whenever there is pruning happens, what happens in urban areas or especially on the roadside or even in our own garden, what we see, if there is no view, if that canopy is obstructing your view, it can be even the hotel wala will think कि मेरा hotel का business नहीं, so I want to remove that tree. Try to convince him that don't remove the tree, you have to prune it, but the pruning is always required to have in balancing manner. If one tree is there, if I am removing only one side canopy, definitely there won't be any weight in this direction. Now, over several years, this trunk has habit of balancing the branches. If I am removing branches, definitely it will be tilted like this and it will fall down. So this is very simple civil engineering aspect of it. We have to prune if we are pruning it from across the canopy. You try to balance it. See that how the tree is standing, where more biomass is there. And even lateral branches, now it is, those ex chainsaw is available. It is very dangerous that they cut right from the origin of the main trunk. If you have this trunk, if the branch is there, they just try to cut it from very close to the main stem. It should never be like that. Pruning is always advisable to have it when the trunk is reached this thick, not beyond this much. So you can prune it from throughout the canopy, crown. You try to intact the crown as much as possible. The roundness of canopy is always allowing that to exist in whatever air pressures or winds are flowing. So there won't be falling down of that tree. Pruning is very essential for us to understand. It's a science. It's not that just go and cut it the way we want. It is not like that. We have to be very cautious while handling the tree growth. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to add to this. So I
Yes,
have a lot of trees in my house, and my landscapist, her name is Oro Navy. She also has done a talk on Vishwa Talks. I hope, Trishad, can you put the link? Now, I have watched her cut trees. So just like when we have hair and we have split ends, we cut it. She's taken the saw, depending on the size of the twig, sometimes small secateurs, if not a saw. And she's actually put a ladder on the tree, climbed the tree, and cut those parts. So, and then now every year I do that to my trees.
it's a careful trimming.
Yeah, and she was trained for 5 years in Germany.
Hmm.
I don't know what are the trainings that we are giving to gardeners in our country. This profession is not valued, respected, and then I don't even think people will actually go and learn. Maybe they will become a botanist or a zoologist, but plain simple gardening, I doubt people would actually go join. And I think we need to change that outlook in our country.
Same thing is happening here also. What I have seen is there is no connection between electricity board people and that of corporation. One day corporation people will come and do the pruning. Another day electricians or electrical department people will come and they will say, no, no, this canopy is not allowing light to fall down. So there is darkness on the road. So we are removing. And there is no connection. Corporation, Parks and Garden Department never care in the name of this electrical power or another lines like drainage line from the below. They don't care about the trees, and it is very sad state. Actually, it is the reality of our uh, urban authorities, I should say.
All all it needs is a simple rule put across the country saying on one side of the road have your electrical lines, your sewage lines, your water lines. On the other side of the road, you can put your trees and no
Only
electric,
tree line, no other line.
nothing
Yeah.
else. And it is just one simple law that can be passed across the country. This will actually ensure the roads will not be cut 100 times also. If under the
Yes,
footpath on one side are all these facilities done.
absolutely.
There is a question from Kilaru Pranay. Sir, any book recommendations on this native trees and their influence on biodiversity?
Not influence on biodiversity because it's a very research oriented thing. So many trees, even same species growing in some other parts of the country will have some different role altogether in the ecosystem. So this we have to understand that. one tree particularly growing in our area, what is its importance? So we need to have that conclusion from our observations. Because if you even try to find out, you will find research that will talk some other use of that tree, same tree. But you will not find the same tree is being used or treated in the manner that is being mentioned in the paper, research paper. So it is personal observation. But yes, to refer the books, uh, Pradeep Kishan has those books. Trees of Delhi is there, then Central India forest trees of Central India. So those trees have, they have good kind of photographic illustrations, is presentation is there, and he is describing it to very good extent. Pradeep Kishan is not the botanist, but I have seen in conservation, those who are not from the proper field are doing better job. This is happening everywhere. Engineers, they are into animal rescue. If you ask, what is your passing out? He will say, I am civil engineer. What you are doing? I am rescuing tigers. I am rescuing panthers. So this is the reality of our country, unfortunately. It should not happen, but then that is happening. So many times it is not that only experiences helps. Many times even pure studies are also, making you wise in your decision making. So you need to have proper understanding of the subject. And these trees, there are some publications also. One has to visit even libraries, because you know your library will have some other collections from the local authors talking about local flora. So those are also helpful things. Because we have such a, as madam already said, that we have such a vast diversity. Even ficus species, for example, you will have hundreds of ficuses growing in India. If you talk about diversity, tree diversity of Sahyadri, there are 1,000+ species in Sahyadri. So no, even a learned professor or botanist will be able to describe each and every tree. He will say, okay, this must be belonging to this family. That is the identity, because flowers are certain types, and I can say that this belongs to this family, but not beyond that. He will not be able to name it on the spot. He has to do search, a lot of herbaria he has to see, and then he will conclude, okay, this one is this. So this type of learning is always there. They are always, and इसमें ऐसा है कि खुद मरो और स्वर्ग में जाओ. मतलब one has to die to go to heaven. One has to work hard to understand the things or subject of our own interest. And that self-learning is always very important. That is what I said previously to the ma'am, that you start taking up student outside your classroom. That is the first step that she has to. How to start, then you will automatically come across ways to approach the things. And those will be probably best ways than what I am sharing on my experience base.
This next question is from Monisha. Sir, could you give us some practical tips on how you started nature walks and saved local trees in urban areas and convinced people not to cut them?
Yeah, this is the same thing that, even we could successfully safeguard two roads, major roads, by not allowing even commissioner to cut the trees. In the name of widening of road, they have broken down the wall of circuit house. You can imagine circuit house building to wall toot jati hai, compound goes back. But then we are able to safeguard the trees by saying that they are, supporting such a great number of parakeets every evening they are coming. So we are able to convince that. But these things happens when you as a group goes, you do something on the ground. So I saw that for both the occasion, at one occasion, me and my friend were there. We calculated, we measured, we tried to explain commissioner that this road is to be made like this, and he agreed upon in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes. He came to visit us, what you are doing on the road on the Sunday morning. He came and then he agreed upon what we are saying. So we were suggesting ki you cannot do simply just don't remove the tree. You can have road on the side lane. You can have the side lane. So those things are, you are able to do as a citizen. You have a lot of power. Only the thing is there should be unity, and fact is to be given to the authority. So you can do that. But yes, how we have started is out of curiosity to know what are the plants that Mr. Arun Mujumdar is his name, his fatherly figure to me. He started, on his uh, Lambretta scooter. I used to be on the pavilion, sit, and then we used to travel. And then slowly, after 3, 4 such Sundays, people or rather friends, they came across that you people are going on Sundays, we also would like to join. So that way, slowly and steadily, of course, people started coming, joining the WhatsApp group of Nature Walk. We have only WhatsApp group of Nature Walk, and of course, one Facebook page is there, but not beyond that. But still, we are connecting each other. We are conveying message. Admin convey that this Sunday we are going, we are gathering at this point, and then we'll be going there. And everyone is supposed to bring, rather wear shoes, bring cap, water bottles, and dry nasta. That is what we are asking, and then we are sharing that.
Okay, I'll be very quick. Saptarshi Kundu, sir, please talk something about eucalyptus trees. There are many myths and facts which are going on. Is it helpful for the environment or not?
Which tree?
Eucalyptus tree.
Eucalyptus tree is certainly not the native of India. Myth is not the myth because actually it is changing the soil structure. Wherever we have eucalyptus plantation, over the period of time, definitely that soil becomes more acidic and it is not suitable for all sorts of native trees, native herbs, native plants. So on the ground, you will find only certain species are growing in or below that eucalyptus plantation areas. So certainly it is not good, but yes, it is going to give you the wood, house building, even for those concrete structure, those are coming, you need to have the pole for that. So those things, scenting material is all about the eucalyptus plant still we are using. But over eucalyptus, you can have the other alternative species, which is casuarina. So casuarina is again fast growing, similar pole it will give, and that is to be replaced whenever the eucalyptus is used for only those poles. If you can convince farmer to go for casuarina plantation, he can save on water also. Underground water will not be that much exhaustively used as the eucalyptus are used. So certain local level alterations, if they are giving same pole with the same purpose, you can replace that.
Do they give the same kind of remuneration from the paper companies?
Paper companies,
Eucalyptus.
eucalyptus are replaced in North India, most of the areas, they are replaced with the poplar plantations. So
Poplar.
they are popular for pulp if you are using. It is more, money giver than the eucalyptus.
I was asking somebody why were there not growing red sanders or sandalwood trees because they're more remunerative, and
I
why
am,
using
I
why
have, you have asked me something very close to me, and I have never revealed this. But I was just wondering what way our society is leading to the total destruction by publicizing more on the films like Pushpa. Now Pushpa, in Pushpa film they have shown that he is completely a kind of sandalwood thief, and he is being made into hero. He is giving money to do all sorts of things to that girl, so that is his heroine. So again, a wrong message, completely wrong message of moral status also. It shows that with the money you can buy anything from the girl. It is like that. And very sensitive and very neglected part, and I don't know whosoever is passing these films to be published and to be viewed by the public, is that red sandalwood is belonging to Eastern Ghat to very restricted area. It is not growing everywhere in our country. So that area need to have the protection because it is very rare. It is endemic plant. So red sandalwood is to be protected at any cost. It is like our national treasure, and the exploitation of same national treasure is being put into that film. So in fact, after watching that first part, even I could not see completely, but I was shocked. I was shaken. what type of film they are making, and people are going mad with it.
And the government gave a Padma Shri award for it.
And that is absolutely absurd. Padma Shri nowadays has been given to every sorts of person. I should not say much.
No, I'm
Anyone can get Padma Shri
I've
these
always
days.
been outspoken on this issue. It's heartbreaking that film heroes now, I mean, look at Raj Kapoor, look at the olden days heroes. They at least had a message in their movies. The
Yes.
younger heroes don't care. They just don't care. I mean, violence, the kind of violence that is coming up in the movies. I mean, why won't you hear crime when they may normalize such violence? I mean,
And
that's a
then
topic
similar
for another
similar
day.
things happened somewhere to some even 10% of Pushpa. Then you will be surprised, oh, how come this boy is behaving like this? But then the inspiration is being promoted at national level.
Yes, very sad, very sad. Okay. So Agni has a question. In your experience, suggest the top books. No, sorry, my question. I'm back to my question. So so when I asked this man, why are you not growing these mahogany or whatever is the local species out there, the expensive ones? He said there's a lot of thievery. For 25 years, I carefully grow it and then it disappears. If I grow a eucalyptus every 3-4 years, I get a good amount of remuneration.
Fast growing.
Rather grow every 2-3 years than wait for 25 years and lose the whole field. What is your take on that?
Always in nature, having patience reaps more kind of benefits. Multi-layered benefits are being gained when you are waiting for some time, something to happen. It need to have time.
Got it. Next, Agni, in your experience, suggest the top books to read for ecological health and restoration.
Ecological health, well, um, restoration, there might be some publication. It is not in the book form at present. There are restoration for, say, wetlands, restoration for uh, kind of mining area, but wholesome of restoration is not being compiled yet. There are several species which need to grow, but for that growth, you need to alter little bit of the soil. And this is being seen in case of mining areas. So you can grow certain species there on the degraded lands, but for that you need to change the soil, which are being topsoil is being removed in the name of mining. It was blasted, but then whatever soil is available, whether it is a saline soil, whether what is the pH of that. So if you take care of that pH aspect of soil, putting in some acid or even base as per the pH of the soil, you can bring in changes in that soil. And then certain species, local species, I always see that you are collecting the seeds and using it for growing the local species. Miyawaki, in the real sense, is all about local plants only. Even Miyawaki science says that you need to see how the composition is. If acacia is 2 and acros is 4, you need to see that ratio when you are planting in Miyawaki. But over here, Miyawaki for us is completely unscientific plantation, completely fast growing species. We are growing very close nearby. And we talk about all carbon credits. And we talk about after 10 years, this will be this much, this much. All these are unscientific way or unscientific sustainable development, I should say. We talk about this is sustainable development, but where we are leading, if suppose I am putting neem plants or rayan plants or tamarind plants at the space like Miyawaki, 1.5 foot or 2 feet away from each other, how come I am expecting it to have fully grown tree after 25 years? Miyawaki has also short duration like our solar panels. We always plan for 20 next years and we forget about the things, just like solar panels. Now solar panels after 20 years will come as recycling solid waste. What we are going to do with them, it's a big question. We don't realize at present. We are happy saving our money on electricity bill, but what will happen when they are coming down of our roof? Similarly, Miyawaki also, we have to think on that line. We are planting it so closely and we are not allowing tree to grow in its natural form. Why we need to have that?
Right. Next question, Navneel Neeraj. Oak tree is a native to our hills, and this retains water and also slowly releases water from roots, which are used by people in hills as a source of water. But British gradually replaced with pine trees over a period of time for commercial use of pine. But we see how badly ecology and water condition has aggravated. Please tell us more about this and such cases.
See, in case of pine trees, especially those pines or needles, they are not degrading fast. So you will have several layers of, uh, needles falling on the hills. Now that layering is also increasing acidity of the soil. It is not growing any ground vegetation to grow there. So certainly there is hell lot of changes in diversity of insect over there in the hills. I am talking about Himalaya. Of course, what you are saying is absolutely right that local native or trees are being replaced by putting pines because pines are being used for the every sorts of kind of use. They built boat. They also have constructed their houses, everything. And because it is having that tannin also is very strong, so it is durable. Pine wood is very durable. There won't be any fungus in that. There won't be any termite, eating away that wood. So pine is being preferred over our local native species. But while doing so, definitely the problem that is arisen now because of that pine needle, there is no vegetation, there is no root system going. So ultimately, it becomes a heavy lump, which is again a wet in the rainy season. And whenever there is, because our Himalaya is a living entity, Himalaya is always shaking. It is never being, because there is continental drift going on and it is coming up, 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 and up with that pressure. It is never stopped. It has never stopped. And it is going to increase the height. Every year, Himalaya is increasing the height. So that vibration is always continuing. So what happens in the heavy region, the heavy rains is that entire lump of the pine, it will slide down. And there is heavy, soil erosion that those are taking place in the Himalaya. So pine is not only, it has not changed the diversity, but is also eroding the Himalaya. Himalayan surface is being eroded. So soil is coming down with the gushing water. And that is happening. Like I have seen it also. If you go above this Shivaliks, you will realize this is very frequent phenomenon at several places. And that is how landslide is also increasing.
I'd like to ask Sir for the best books in his opinion for learning ecologic health and restoration, if you could do that.
We, during our times, of course, we use OP Odum ecology. Uh, Odum is was the American ecologist who studied in America, of course, but then very basics understanding of ecology if you want to have. It's a kind of Bible for all the ecologists to learn, to see. But in Indian context, we have to, crisscross with whatever local conditions we have. And then we need to understand it, what is being said into the book. Always try to have our own local kind of references or our own plants and our own soil. But those are very basics that we can learn from that. Eugene P. Odom, E.P. Odom.
Um, yeah, I think I pretty much covered all the questions.
Ma'am, can I ask one question?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sir, I wanted to ask something that again brings light to the actions in Baroda in the last few years. Could you please talk a little bit about Conocarpus?
You want me to show my injury. Conocarpus is the tree what made me leave my advisor job with the corporation when corporation was doing Mission Million. So me and my friend, we were advisor to the commissioner, and we used to give for different area of our city, different kind of pattern of plantation on the roadside. So that is what we have given. But after working for 2 months, we started realizing that this conocarpus that was never in our list is now planted at several places slowly. The plantation was not our duty. We were doing this job after our office hours. So we started realizing, oh, this was not there in our list, and how come it is planted on the roadside? It is coming in the divider, right divider itself. So it was not. Then we had the conflict with the commissioner. Why? How come you are asking us to be advisor, but you are not taking our advice seriously? Then he said, "Ki, we can't stop this, that." There were several reasons for him to say, "Ki, this has not been grazed by cattle. It is evergreen. It can go very fast. That is how it is preferred, etc., etc." Those are all facts for a plant growth. Definitely, those are the real things. But similarly, we should understand that no bird is visiting those canopies. Even today, if you see in Baroda, conocarpus are not being visited by our local birds. So there should something should we should understand, and that is how we then I have taken back. Like I said, I will not work with the corporation. It was as such my voluntary kind of thing. He offered me job, and then I was doing, but it was all part time, and then I left. I said, sir, whatever is being mentioned in our list, that is to be planted for that particular road only, not everywhere. We had around 60 subspecies, local species. We suggested to have trees in our list.
What
Ma'am, I'd like
negative impact of it, sir? Once again, can you give clarity?
So conocarpus is already known. There are on social media also there are films or reels about that. Even in Karachi, because Pakistan is a bit step ahead in case of conocarpus to that of us. There are now around 25-year-old trees in Karachi. They are growing. They are established naturally over there. So wherever they are not planting, the tree is also coming up there naturally. So that was the biggest threat for any introduced plant. Whosoever is there, if it is growing on their own, then we should worry about that because it can be out of our control. For that matter, if I should give the example, we don't see gulmohar to come naturally, and that is good. Gulmohar is from Central Africa. We have bought it here. We are growing it, and we are happy with the flowers. That is okay. Moment it will start growing naturally, we have to have certain control on it. We have to have. This is not happening with other plant like Israeli babu or Prosopis juliflora, Pardesi kikar. So they have taken up our lateral, even Lysobawal, Prosopis in Lysobawal is, I'm not getting at present the name, I'm completely back on that. So certain species which are being introduced, and if they are growing naturally, they take up the area and they are not allowing, or it happens naturally. वो लोग ऐसा सोच के नहीं करते. That is not purposeful thing for them. But to grow and they are very successful, then they take on up the local areas, local vegetation, local plants.
They're moving out the local vegetation.
Yeah. So that has already happened in case of this conocarpus in Karachi, and why we need to have this in Gujarat or in our city. And unfortunately, conocarpus I have seen when I was traveling from airport of that Balaji temple. I could see the conocarpus is also in very interior of that. The conocarpus is growing, on the roadside. So conocarpus is slowly coming up in urban areas, unfortunately, and it is being promoted by nursery people because it is growing very fast. That is the biggest advantage. There is no grazing of that plant, and it is evergreen. So those are the positive points for the plantation or considering for the plantation.
Ma'am, I'd like to add a point here that a lot of this has happened because of a nexus that ends up forming in the governing bodies. A lot of politicians in the past have aided their own logistic systems and companies to get the plants here, aided construction companies to build the dividers, and then aided local planting bodies to plant. So it's a lot of money basically put into this, while a lot of experts like Sir uh, interject and they oppose, the actions still go forward. And cornocarpus is a very big thing to deal with in today's date in Baroda. Like they have all, a lot of them have grown. Every year there is a monetary benefit to the government as well when they cut it. They sell the lumber to the Samshan Ghat, which is where the bodies go to burn. So they cut it at a 6 feet height every year and take it there and use it again. So there's money involved everywhere basically to get it and get it planted in the first place. Also, they could have planted a 2 rupees neem tree, but no, they wanted to plant a sapling that was worth a lot more. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah, there is a lot
saddening.
of money involved in another subject, that is riverfront and lake beautification. Same
Yes.
thing. You have your own kind of contractors. You have your party fund. You are interested in as a politician. So you impose that. You try to threat your officer or Babu IS officer that you have to do this, and they are taking up the decision. That is happening everywhere, and it is very rampant in almost all cities in India. Now will have riverfront and lake beautification. And everywhere that installing bigger statues is also taking place. So civil
Ridiculous.
engineering is proliferating. Biologist is trying all the time.
Okay. Next question from Divyansh. Hello, please just highlight about Lantana and Bixa oralena. As we know that both are not native, but I observe that Lantana also has a lot of use by both humans and animals, but Lantana has been removed by the department and not Bixa oralena.
Mixa aureliana is not growing that vigorously. Lantana I have seen capturing entire hills. That has happened in central Gujarat, one forest area. Jambugoda Wildlife Sanctuary we have here, around 80 kilometers from this city, Baroda. So we have two hills being covered by lantana completely. And there is no absolutely no other single shrub that is growing on the hill. Entire hill surface is being covered by lantana. So, and lantana, of course, it has also got that rashes you have. And, if it is being, scratched to the skin, you will have lot of kind of red rashes. And then you all the time you will be doing scratching. So lantana, of course, it is being used for insect repellent, and those things are also there. But then it is out of control when it starts fruiting, flowering. Then it, because seeds are not many number of seeds are coming out of that. Right. In case of another one, of course, it is like that not that proliferating fast. And the way we are using Malotus philippensis, similar way, we can use the orange extract of that seed from the pods. So, and it is edible also. So, those are planted, but still with the beautification purpose, it is being mostly planted because it has got bigger leaf and Bixa orellana. And the pink flowers, those are bigger in size, so they look very attractive. And it grows as a small shrub. So, it is in gardens, of course, it is being planted. I never seen Bixa orellana taking up the natural areas.
Um, this is from Shruti Sharma Shah. Before restoration, any ecosystem, ecology of the ecosystem is past and exist. First thing which is important to know after that, only anybody can plan any ecosystem restoration. So ecology understanding is necessary. I mean, I'm not sure what her question
No,
is.
it's not a question. It's like an opinion.
She is supporting, or rather putting forth her point, that understanding of ecology and local kind of diversity is very important. I feel so. That is what she mean to say here.
So anyway,
So,
thank you. Yeah,
one last question
yes.
by Lipi Kocher. Could you suggest trees that would help in restoration of waterlogged areas or waterlogging areas?
It is very simple, actually. Whenever this type of things those are coming up, like I'm talking thoda backward story bata raha hu. So it is all about our observation, the nature, the things we decide upon, and it goes in right way. There is one Diospirus kaki. Diospirus kaki is the species. Diospirus is the generic name of tree. So after Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb blast, entire say around 15-50 kilometer radius area was destroyed. But these particular trees, they are trees, they survive. Rest of the trees were dried up. Rest of the herbs all gone. Nothing survived. Nothing could be there in that 50-kilometer radius. But then Diospirus kaki started. They burned. Entire tree was burned. All that everything is burned. Concrete meltdown. Everything happened. But after 1 year, they started sprouting. So Diospirus is being seen with very respect with whatever local botanists or Japanese were there, traditional plant users. They started taking the bark of that tree and treating trauma patient because in trauma that could survive. So our people will also, and it is 100% successful story now. They are practicing it for treating the trauma. So similarly, in case of wetland restoration, the trees those are growing in the wetland, around the wetland, those who can tolerate water saturation is to be planted. So to name few, we have wild species of jambu. Syzygium is the generic name. Hainianum is the species. Syzygium rubicundum is the species. Tamarix, 4-5 species are there. So tamarix is also growing with the water, along with the running water on the right edges in the rocky substrate. You have this syzygium. We can also plant Terminalia arjuna. Again, it is growing all along the water rivers in our forested area. Pongamia or Dairy pinnata. Pongamia pinnata also will be the tree that can grow along with the flowing water. So based on local observation, what trees are growing just in our area, we can select and propagate and plant for such type of restoration.
How about Moringa? Moringa?
Moringa can, yes, it can tolerate water to great extent. Moringa I have seen in near water bodies, but it is also very fast growing. But at what extent the canopy will grow or what would be the biomass? It is comparatively smaller than what all other names I have spoken. They grow to very great extent and very means I should say even 100 years.
I,
Arjuna tree can grow to 100 years. It
I
can easily
understand it
grow.
cleanses the water faster, the Moringa tree.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. That was a vast knowledge that
Actually, moringa के लिए एक add करना चाहूंगा. I would like to add in that moringa is also good accumulator of sulfur dioxide. The sulfur, I mean say. So wherever is sulfur dioxide pollution is there, industry is there. Those who are using sulfuric acid, they can go or plant moringa. It can, accumulate sulfur 3 to 4 times more than the normal.
Thank you so much. You've been so patient. And this is great contribution to our country, to our Mother Earth. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you, Trishant and Vishwa group, Rakeshi and Shivani ma'am. Actually, from your, like hearing you, I was wondering exactly आपने education किसमें किया है? You are so versatile. You are able to tell, even you are able to tell to decision makers also, I think.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. I will shortly, Rakesh will shortly send
One
you a
second.
big.
One
Yes,
second.
ma'am.
Thank you to all the participants. I mean, so many people still on the call. It's amazing. I can understand all of your passion in this field. I hope each one of you can make a difference in your circle of influence with respect to the environment and Mother Earth. Yes, Trisha, carry on.
I'd like to thank everyone who's joined us for the session today. If you want regular updates, I will shortly send you a link on your screen. Rakesh will. You can join the breakout room link, and I'll join you in about a minute there. Um, yes. To all the people who are with us right now, you can get future updates about Vishwa Talks and the topics on Instagram, on our website, vishwa.org. Please also follow Vishwa Talks on Instagram and Vishwa India on Instagram, and you will keep getting future updates about all our activities and all the upcoming talks. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time. Please share the knowledge around and join us next week.